Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to cover the 6 levels and the 12 meridians in Chinese medicine. And so in Chinese medicine, there are 12 main meridians and they can be categorized into 6 different levels. On the left side, you have the yin levels, and on the right side, you have the yang levels. So there's yin levels and yang levels. On the yin levels, you have tai yin, shao yin, and jue yin. And on the yang levels, you have yang ming, tai yang, and shao yang. Just a little bit of Chinese. Tai means very, so very yin. Shao or shao means very little yin. And so notice that we have tai yin and shao yin, and tai yang and shao yang. So we know that tai yin and tai yang, they mean a lot of yin, a lot of yang. Shao yin and shao yang mean a little bit of yin, a little bit of yang. Or lesser yin, lesser yang. And so we're first going to just talk about this tai yin, tai yang, and shao yang. Notice that they are offset. They're not right next to each other. So we have tai yin on the first level and second level of yin. And for tai yang and shao yang, we have them in the second and third level. So just notice that. Now, for the third level of yin, we have jue yin. So jue means receding, so receding yin. And so the way to remember this is yin you can think of as an inward direction. And so the last level of yin is jue yin, receding yin. On the yang side, we have our first level, yang ming. And yang ming means yang bright. And remember, yang is like hot, outward, and bright. So we can remember yang ming because yang is bright. The first level of yang is yang ming. So going over those levels, we have on the left side the yin levels, tai yin, shao yin, and jue yin. On the right side, we have the 3 yang levels, yang ming, tai yang, and shao yang. So you may have noticed that there are little dots, and each of these dots represent a meridian. So there's 12 total regular meridians in Chinese medicine, and there are 2 meridians within each of these levels. And before we go into that, I first just want to talk about the fact that each level has 2 meridians, and each level has 1 hand meridian and 1 foot meridian. So the tai yin has 1 hand meridian, 1 foot meridian. Yang ming has 1 hand meridian, 1 foot meridian, and so on. And so just know that each of these levels have 1 hand meridian and 1 foot meridian. Filling in those bubbles, this is all of the meridians categorized in their respective levels. So we know we have tai yin, we have the lung meridian and the spleen meridian. The yang ming, we have large intestine and stomach meridian, and so on and so forth. And so we just need to remember this order of it going this right down, left down type of pattern. That is the flow that qi flows through our body. And before we go on into explaining why it's in this order, we first just need to know about the nomenclature. Every single meridian has its full name. And so the full name is the level that it is, whether it's a hand or foot, and the organ that the meridian passes through. So we know the lung meridian is the hand tai yin meridian. So we know that for the lung meridian, it's the lung meridian of hand tai yin. Let's look at another example. We know the bladder meridian is the foot tai yang meridian. We know the bladder meridian is the bladder meridian of foot tai yang. Let's look at another example. We have sanjiao. So sanjiao is the sanjiao meridian of hand shao yang. So now let's go over one more example. We have the kidney meridian. So what should this be? The kidney meridian is the kidney meridian of foot, Shao Yin. So that's how we name channels in Chinese medicine. And so the way to remember this order, though, it's in rows of interior-exterior pairs. And so on the left side is the yin organs. So those are the interior part of the pair. On the right side, we have the yang organs. So those are the exteriors part of the exterior pair, interior-exterior pair. So how do we remember the yin versus the yang? Well, we can look at all of the yang meridians. All of the yang meridians are hollow. Yang organs are hollow, and they have something to do with containing things, digesting things, letting out urine, or holding things. So a very obvious example is the large intestine, the stomach, and small intestine. They all have to do with ingesting outside material, that's something external, and excreting it outward. So large intestine, stomach, small intestine, all very yang organs. The bladder also has to do with excreting urine, so that is also a yang organ. It's a sac that holds fluid and releases that fluid. The Sanjiao meridian, so this is translated as the triple heater in Chinese medicine, and it's San meaning 3, and Jiao meaning like heater. So we know there's 3 parts of it, and if we look at what the Sanjiao is, the Sanjiao is composed of the upper jiao, middle jiao, and lower jiao. And it still follows the same idea of it being hollow. It's what holds the entire thoracic cavity of organs. And so because it's hollow, it's a yang organ. And finally, we have the gallbladder. And so the gallbladder stores the bile that the liver produces and secretes it into the stomach. So again, it's still a little sac of fluid that releases into something. And so these are all yang organs, and so these are the yang meridians. On the other hand, we have the interior part of the organs. So we have the yin organs. So that's lung, spleen, heart, kidney, pericardium, and liver. And so if you think about all of these organs, they're all kind of spongy. They're not really hollow, and they have something to do with filtering or holding, or it's a very like dense material, and so it's not hollow. It's a yin organ, and so therefore a yin meridian. So now that we differentiated between the yin and yang, now let's go row by row to remember the order that the qi flows. So first we're gonna go with lung and large intestine. So this is the first interior-exterior pair. And so how to remember the lung and large intestine are together? Well, the very easiest way to remember this is just like how the lungs enclose the heart, the large intestine encloses the small intestine. It's kind of similar in concept. The lungs are on the outside, the large intestine is on the outside, the heart is on the inside, the small intestine on the inside. So the lungs and the large intestines are paired together. Another way you can remember this is lungs take in outside air, very external. The large intestine is right next, it goes into the anus, very external. They're both the most external of the yin organs and the yang organs. The next pair, we have the spleen and the stomach. In Chinese medicine, they're very interrelated, but in Western medicine, it's less so. The spleen has to do with filtering out damaged red blood cells. But in Chinese medicine, the spleen is like, it goes hand in hand with the stomach for digestion. The easiest way to remember this is the spleen and the stomach are right next to each other. the spleen actually has like a little divot to like hook onto the stomach. So just remember the stomach and spleen are right next to each other, and so they're the that's the next interior exterior pair. After that, we have the heart and smallest intestine. So just remember that same analogy. The heart is enclosed by the lungs. So same thing. The small intestines are enclosed by the large intestines. They're wrapped around. And just don't get confused. Remember that the intestines, anything with digestion, is a yang organ. So the small intestine is the yang part of the pair. The heart is the yin part of the pair. So heart and small intestine. Next, we have the kidneys and the bladders. And so this is really similar to Western medicine as well. So we have the kidneys, and whatever they filter out, it connects directly to the bladder to produce urine. So the kidney and bladder is the next interior-exterior pair. After that, we have the pericardium and sanjiao. And so just remember, this is an easy way to remember is the pericardium wraps around the heart, and the sanjiao wraps around all of the organs. And so with that idea, the pericardium and sanjiao are the interior-exterior pair. They both wrap around a large amount of things. The final and last pair is the liver and gallbladder. So again, goes hand in hand with Western physiology. The liver produces bile, and that's stored in the gallbladder. And they're right next to each other as well physically. And so that's an easy pair to remember, liver and the gallbladder. So the first step is remembering all of these interior-exterior pairs. The lung and large intestine go together. The spleen and stomach go together. The heart and small intestine next, followed by the kidney and bladder. Finally, the pericardium and sanjiao, and liver and gallbladder. And so if you can remember those, at the very least, you have each interior and exterior pair remembered. Next, you just have to remember the order that they go in. So the lung and large intestine you can think of as first. They're the most external of the pairs. The large intestine being, the anus is right there. It's like the end of the cave. The lung breathes in air. It's the most external of the yin organs. Next, you have the stomach and the spleen. So the stomach is the first thing that goes, it's the first organ that food goes into for digestion. You can think of the stomach being as less external as the large intestine though, because you have the esophagus that food needs to go through before it actually reaches the stomach. So stomach and spleen is next, followed by the heart and small intestine. So just think of the food from the stomach goes directly to the small intestine, and the small intestine is paired with the heart. And so that's the next interior-exterior pair. Finally, you have the kidney and the bladder. And so with this one, you can remember that this is the next external. This is the next. If you look at what's coming next, sanjiao and the gallbladder, those are more internal than the bladder, because the bladder at least releases directly to, when you pee, it goes from the bladder, and so that's the next internal external pair, followed by the pericardium and sanjiao. So the pericardium and sanjiao, sanjiao being the container of organs, so that's next in terms of how, this is going more and more internal, that's your thoracic cavity. And finally, we have the liver and gallbladder in terms of how much it interacts with the outside. I would say the liver and gallbladder are the most internal. It's really hard for a foreign object to get into your liver and gallbladder out of all of these yang organs. And so the liver and gallbladder are the most internal, and that's why they appear last in this order. And so just remember that we have the large intestine first, you have the anus directly outside, stomach, because you have the esophagus, but food first hits the stomach. Food from the stomach goes to the small intestine. Then you have the bladder, at least you can pee and urinate outside. Then you have the container of your intestines. It's going to your thoracic cavity. And finally you have the gallbladder, which is the most internal of all of those things. And after you go through the order of the young organs, just remember the mnemonics we came up with for each of those internal external pairs. And that's how you draw the way that qi flows. Just remember it goes right, down, left, down, right, down in this snake path pattern. So after you remember all of these organs, you can then associate them with times. So you just start with 3 to 5 a.m. for the lungs. Think about when you're sleeping, you snore. So 3 to 5 a.m. is the lungs, followed by the large intestine, stomach, spleen, heart. So one way you can think of this is heart is the fire organ. At noon, it's the hottest part of the day. So noon is going to be the heart, followed by the small intestine, bladder, kidney, pericardium, sunjiao, gallbladder, and liver, 1 to 3 a.m. You can remember after a night of drinking, it's around 1 to 3 a.m. when your liver is the most active, back to the lung, 3 to 5 a.m. And so in this video, we covered the levels and the regular meridians of Chinese medicine and the nomenclature as well as the order that they go through. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you in the next video.